calls on past leaders to answer Allah enemies' allegation. Economic Action Council to analyse progressive wage model. Good afternoon and salam Malaysia Madani. I'm Julai and this is Updates at Noon. The selection of stable and strong government is important to ensure the welfare of rakyat in Pulau Pinang continue to be protected. Hence, Prime Minister Datuk Seri Anwar Ibrahim expressed hopes that voters in the state would continue their support for the previous state government.
Di Pulau Pinang ni kerajaan perpaduan, supaya kita boleh sama-sama dengan kerajaan perpaduan persekutuan, kita boleh bangun terutama nasib orang Melayu Pulau Pinang, kita kena pertahankan. Saya dah ambil keputusan 5-6 bulan yang lalu untuk hidupkan balik jawatankuasa pemandu dengan rasa Bumi-Putera Pulau Pinang, dan untuk bantu kerajaan negeri dan persekutuan supaya jangan orang Melayu rasa tersisih. Hal ini tidak dilakukan beberapa tahun yang lalu.
He said this when officiating the Kurban Perdana program in Pematang Pau yesterday. Meanwhile, Datuk Seri Anwar asked the past leaders or its Dewan Ulama to come forward and rectify the mistakes in the statements issued by independent preachers that had touched the sensitivities of Muslim in the country. He said this includes the recent statement by former Kedah PAS Dewan Ulama Deputy Chief Sheikh Muhammad Zainul Asri Muhammad Romli, which implied that only PAS and its partners in the Perikatan Nasional Coalition are on Allah's side and that all other parties are the enemies.
For example, what was said earlier, that those who are against PAS are the enemies of Allah. This is not just a political narrative. It's dangerous for the country.
On a separate matter, Datuk Seri Anwar called upon the younger generation to work together with the government to fight against corruption. The Prime Minister said the fight against malpractice in country's administration must be passed on to the next generation.
Anak muda mesti bawa perubahan, insya-Allah. Sebab tu saya mula tadi dengan bacaan ayat Quran tentang upaya anak muda bawa perubahan. Anak muda bagaimana yang ada keupayaan keyakinan dia, yang mau keadaan itu lebih baik. Keupayaan dia menolak sistem lama yang bersarang pada rasuah dan penyelewengan.
Datuk Seri Anwar also expressed hope that the younger generation will move forward and reject negative elements that stand in the way of a more inclusive Malaysia. In the meantime, the Prime Minister pledged that the corruption and misappropriation of government's fund is coming to an end under his administration. He also promised that the poverty issue will be overcome soon and called upon all Malaysians to work together with the government to ensure the objective is achieved. The government is studying a proposal to place carbon trading under the Ministry of Plantation and Industries and Commodities (KPK). A Deputy Prime Minister, Datuk Seri Fadilah Yusof, said currently all issues related to carbon are under the jurisdiction of the Ministry of Natural Resources, Environment and Climate Change.
Kami sekarang ini sudah berbincang sama ada kita dapat pisahkan pertama sekali carbon conservation itu dengan the trading diberi dekat Kementerian Perdagangan dan Komoditi sesuai dengan apa yang ditakrifkan di bawah United Nations ESG Karbon adalah dikirakan sekarang ni sebagai komoditi. Jadi ini sedang diperincikan. Kalau dapat dimuktamadkan, maka insya-Allah kita akan follow through apa yang dicadangkan oleh Yang Amat Berhormat Premier.
Datuk Seri Fadilah, who's also the Plantation Industries and Commodities Minister, said the effort to place carbon trading under the KPK is also expected to take some time because it involves changes in the ministry. The progressive wage model will be tabled at the National Economic Action Council M10 with the aim to analyse the suitability of its implementation. In a statement, Human Resources Minister V. Sivakumar said it was also to decide whether to study salary model or seek other alternatives to improve the existing salary system in this country. Sivakumar said the progressive wage model, among other things, would be able to help find solutions to benefit both parties in addition to the productivity-linked wage system promoted by the Malaysian Industrial Relations Department since 2005. However, the minister said the government has yet to finalise whether to use the wage model, adding that it was aware that it has constraints in terms of its implementation. In the meantime, he said the minimum wage set by the government will be reviewed at least once every 2 years. The government's intention in fixing the wages is for employees to get a salary that will commensurate with their work productivity, skills and experience. An object believed to be a mortar-type bomb was discovered by a jogger at the Sultan Abdul Aziz Recreation Park, commonly known as the Polo Grounds, yesterday. Ipoh District Police Chief ACP Yahya Hassan said the police received a call at about 3 p.m. informing them of the discovery of an object resembling a mortar bomb by the pool of the recreation park. Yahya said upon arrival at the scene, the police cordoned off an area of about 500 metres so that the public could not approach the pool. The Perak Contingent Police Headquarters Bomb Disposal Unit arrived at the scene and found a mortar bomb measuring millimetres long, 60 mm wide, and did not contain explosives and was used for training. He said the mortar bomb had been taken to the Perak Police Weapons Division for investigation and further action. On the foreign front, 48 people killed in road disaster. Stay tuned. Tens of thousands of Muslims streamed out of Islam's holiest city on Friday after completing the annual Hajj pilgrimage in Saudi Arabia's scorching summer heat. This year, more than 1.8 million worshippers performed the Hajj, which is one of the 5 pillars of Islam and is among the world's largest religious gatherings. On Friday, 2 days after the last major ritual, tens of thousands of people packed roads and boarded buses out of Islam's holiest sites of Mecca, bringing the Hajj to a close. They departed after performing a farewell tawaf, circling 7 times around the Kaaba, the large black cube in Mecca's Grand Mosque. This year's attendance figures marked a dramatic increase on the 926,000 from last year, when numbers were capped at 1 million following the COVID-19 pandemic. Only 10,000 were allowed in 2020, rising to nearly 59,000 a year later. In recent years, the Hajj, which follows the lunar calendar, has fallen in the Saudi summer at a time when global warming is making the desert climate even hotter. Experts have warned that temperatures of 50 degrees Celsius could become an annual occurrence in Saudi Arabia by the end of the century. America's stressed travel infrastructure faces a major test this weekend as it contends with a record turnout expected for the annual 4th of July festivities. The 5-day stretch culminates in Tuesday's Independence Day, a celebration, a highlight of the U.S. summer calendar, marked by fireworks, barbecues and lazing by the pool. According to the American Automobile Association, a record 50.7 million Americans are expected to venture at least 80 kilometers from home in the period heading into 4th July, eclipsing the prior peak of 49 million in 2019. It expects elevated volumes across travel modes, with the heaviest road traffic on Friday, when travel times will be 30% over normal. As for flying, the Federal Aviation Administration FAA said the busiest day was Thursday, which was also the biggest day for air travel since COVID. But airport chaos in recent days has put many travelers on guard as airlines struggle to meet torrid demand. Storms in New York and other East Coast destinations wreaked havoc, forcing the cancellation of more than 3,200 flights to and from the three major New York area airports since Monday. Travelers are also tracking smoky air from Canada that's moving east from the Midwest, and extreme heat in Texas and other states has driven talk of a federal disaster declaration to mitigate public health risks. At least 48 people were killed when a truck apparently lost control and plowed into other vehicles and pedestrians at a busy junction in western Kenya on Friday. Local television images show the scenes of devastation at the site of the crash, with the mangled wreckage of several minibuses and the overturned truck as rescue workers hunted for people feared trapped. Local police commander Geoffrey Mayak said the accident happened on the highway between the towns of Kericho and Nakuru. He said another 30 people had been seriously injured and rushed to various hospitals, warning that the toll could rise. Regional Police Commander for the Rift Valley, Tom Mboya Odero, said the truck travelling towards Kericho lost control and rammed into 8 vehicles, several motorcycles, people who were by the roadside, vendors and other people who were on other businesses. The Kenyan Red Cross, which sent ambulances and rescue workers to the scene, said heavy rains were hindering rescue operations. Transport Minister Kimchumba Murkomen said on Twitter that the rescue efforts would be followed by investigation to determine the cause of the crash. In sports, Verstappen takes his 4th pole in a row. There are more after this. Kicking off our sports segment today, Senegal striker Nicolas Jackson has joined Chelsea from Villarreal on an 8-year contract. The 22-year-old played a vital role for Villarreal last season, scoring 9 goals in the final 8 matches and winning the La Liga Player of the Month award for May. Jackson scored 12 goals in 26 league matches last term. He also made his debut for Senegal at the World Cup in Qatar, playing for 16 minutes in the 2-0 defeat by Netherlands. Chelsea did not give any financial details, but British media said they will pay €37 million for Jackson. Following Christopher Nkunku's arrival from RB Leipzig, he's the second forward to join Chelsea this month. The Stamford Bridge side will seek to revive their fortunes under former Tottenham Hotspur manager Mauricio Pochettino after finishing 12th, their worst finish to a season since 1994. Now moving with Formula One, Max Verstappen took pole position for Red Bull's home Austrian Grand Prix on Friday, while teammate and close title rival Sergio Perez had another nightmare and qualified only 15th. Ferrari's Charles Leclerc will line up alongside Verstappen on the front row, with teammate Carlos Sainz and McLaren's Lando Norris in a newly upgraded car immediately behind. The pole was Verstappen's 4th in a row, while Perez, already 69 points behind Verstappen after 8 races, all won by Red Bull, failed to make the top 10 for the 4th race in succession. The Mexican had been second fastest in phase 2 of qualifying, but had 3 laps deleted for failing to stay within the track limits at turns 9 and 10. Drivers have another qualifying on today for a standalone 100-kilometer sprint that no longer determines Sunday's grid under a new format introduced this season and first used in Azerbaijan in April. Verstappen win of 6 races so far this season and chasing his 5th victory in a row on Sunday, said it had been hard to stay within the lines at Spielberg's Red Bull Ring, which has the shortest lap on the calendar in terms of time. Verstappen's fastest time was 1 minute 04.391 seconds, the double world champion claiming provisional pole with his first effort in the final phase and then going faster to make absolutely sure of pole. All right, moving on to tennis. Christopher Eubanks continued his breakthrough season in dramatic fashion on Friday when he saved 5 match points to reach his maiden ATP Tour final at Mallorca Championships. The 27-year-old survived a 3-setter thriller against Lloyd Harris, 4-6, 6-3, 7-6 after 2 hours and 18 minutes. Eubanks dug out of a left 40 hole while serving at 4-5 in the decider and saved 2 more match points in the final set tie break. The former Georgia Tech University standout has soared 27 places to number 50 in the Pepperstone ATP Live rankings this week, setting him up for a new career high. A quarter-finalist at this year's ATP Masters 1000 event in Miami, Eubanks is enjoying his career best run off the Spanish island. Eubanks will next meet 4th seed Adrian Manarino in the ATP 250 final after the Frenchman closed Friday's play on Mallorca's centre court with a 7-6, 6-4 win against Germany's Yannick Hanfmann. Manarino improved to 12-9 in ATP Tour semi-finals to continue his bid for a third tour level title. His previous triumphs came in Hertogenbosch in 2019 and Winston-Salem last season. The world's number 43's victory denied Hanfmann with what would have been his 3rd ATP Tour final and his first on grass. After winning the opening tie-break, Manarino closed out the win by converting on the first break point of the second set for either man. Whether it's a technological advancement, preservation of cultural materials, or ecological systems by different people from all around the world, all have brought positive changes for the human race. To dive further, let's take a look at our new segment, World Around Us. A whole-body virtual reality suit, complete with a soft robotic muscles, could soon supercharge your VR experience or help film directors map on actors' movement or even help a Parkinson's sufferer to keep walking. Project lead to ETH Zurich, the Swiss Federal Institute of Technology, Max Eberlein said, the Meta suit is basically a suit that is built with artificial muscles and that enables its users to have greater interaction with virtual reality. The project's main objective was to create a soft light, natural-feeling suit that will allow users to move and interact within VR environments while also overcoming many of the drawbacks of vision-based motion capture systems and handheld devices. The core technology are the muscles, called hydraulically amplified self-healing electrostatic actuators, which are similar to a Ziploc bag which can be expanded or contracted with a tiny electric current. The goal was to make a system more akin to the human body rather than the metal and motors normally associated with an exoskeleton and robotics. Potential applications for the technology include motion tracking systems for movies and animations, restarting frozen gait, a symptom of Parkinson's that requires a prompt to help the patient move, and a whole host of gaming or well-being possibilities. Over in Japan, advanced science and technology researcher Masahiko Inami and his team at the University of Tokyo have created a wearable and exchangeable multi-arm device to explore the social interaction between multiple users of the robotic limbs. The Jizai arms, named for a concept that roughly denotes the freedom to do as one pleases, are made up of a wearable base unit with sockets for up to 6 articulated arms.
この腕の特徴はですね、こうやって人の2本の腕以上にたくさん腕を増やせるってことだけではなくて、実はこれ背中のソケットでですね、外したりつけたりで、さらに別の人に貸したりということもできるようになるんですよね。
The project was inspired in part by bunraku, a form of traditional Japanese puppet theater, and Japanese novelist and Nobel Prize winner Yasunari Kawabata's quasi-horror short story about a man who borrowed a young woman's arm and proceeded to spend the night with it. In contrast to the vision of robots and AI replacing humans, Inami's work seeks to explore how technology can function as an extension of the human body. Inami believes its uses could range from post-disaster search and rescue to new forms of artistic expression, similar to the dancer moving in concert with the machine. An autonomous underwater robot that moves like a fish can film underwater and collect samples that provide a picture of which organisms live in a given environment without disturbing it, according to its developers. Leon Guggenheim, a mechanical engineering student at ETH Zurich, the Swiss Federal Institute of Technology, the robot called Bell is designed to allow marine researchers help protect and observe endangered environments by collecting true data in a minimally invasive way.
So our idea was to create a platform that actually fits into the ecosystem and that gets accepted as part of it. That's why we then developed a fish that behaves like a fish and is also accepted by other marine creatures as a fish. So it has to be silent. It has to also appear like a fish. It has to move like a fish.
At nearly a meter long and weighing almost 10 kilograms out of the water, Bell is propelled by a silicon fin with 2 cavities into which water is pumped in cycles. The team hope their robot will help marine biologists study the health and biodiversity of various different reef ecosystems and that have been impacted by overfishing, pollution, and climate change. In the evolutionary arms race between bats and their prey, moths develop what scientists described as a stealth cloak, making them nearly invincible to bats' senses. Professor of sensory biology at the University of Bristol, Mark Holdride, is now working to mimic this to produce more effective, thinner sound absorbers, creating what he calls sonic wallpaper. According to Holdride, bats' echolocation, their ability to see with sound, has affected the evolution of nighttime flying insects. Many insects evolve ears to hear the bats and help to evade them, but a larger number of insects, including the family of silk moths, have no ears. Over 7 years of research, Holdride and colleagues discovered that silk moths have evolved another means of evading bats. Moth wings, he said, are about 10 times as efficient at absorbing sound than any of our current sound absorbers, and they are now transferring these structures to the frequencies humans can hear. He is now preparing to unveil a new generation of sound-absorbing technology to tackle one of the main scourges of modern life, noise pollution. Researchers in Barcelona are trying to trick nature by creating an artificial womb for extremely premature babies after tests on animals kept fetuses alive for 12 days. The artificial placenta prototype recreates a protective environment with a translucent container made of a biocompatible material inside which the fetus lungs, intestines and brain can continue to develop. It is connected to an amniotic fluid circulation system that maintains the fetus isolated from external stimuli but accessible for ultrasound controls and monitoring. Babies born after 6 months of pregnancy or less are considered extremely premature with a high risk of death or disability. The World Health Organization's latest figures show that around 900,000 such babies died worldwide in 2019. The team has conducted preclinical studies with lambs where they achieve 12-day fetus survival and plans to also test with pigs before proposing a human trial in a few years. Japanese artist Yayoi Kusama's inflatable, large-scale sculptures are shown together for the first time in a new exhibition in Manchester, United Kingdom. The major exhibition titled You, Me and the Balloons is billed as Kusuma's largest ever immersive environment. It features sculptures created over the past 3 decades, including her famed tendrilled landscapes, polka dot spheres and giant dolls, many of which are over 10-meter tall. You, Me and Balloons had its preview on Thursday ahead of the start of the Manchester International Festival. Long known for her obsessive dot-covered art and pumpkin motifs, the 94-year-old avant-garde artist is one of the most successful living female artists. The exhibition will be held in the Factory International main warehouse space from 29th June to 28th August, while the Manchester International Festival runs through 16th July. Tourists formed long queues outside Rome's Pantheon on Friday, few days before an entrance fee is introduced to visit one of the ancient world's best-preserved monuments. As of 3rd July, foreign visitors will be charged €5 for entry unless they are going there to pray. Only residents of Rome will also be exempted from the payment. Now a church, the vast cylindrical former temple, whose undamaged exterior wall supports a 43.3-meter high dome with a circular skylight at its summit, attracts millions of visitors every year. The new €5 per person charge is part of a drive to squeeze more profit from Italy's cultural assets and will be split between the Ministry of Culture and Diocese of Rome. The ministry will receive 70% of the revenue and will use the money for cleaning and maintenance of the site, including the part where Roman statesman Marcus Vipsanius Agrippa commissioned a temple in honor of Emperor Augustus in around 27 BC. The Pantheon's current form and 6-meter thick walls date from the early part of the reign of Emperor Hadrian, who came to power in AD 117. Among those buried in there are Renaissance artist Raphael and 2 Italian kings. A portrait of an unnamed woman by Austrian artist Gustav Klimt sold for a total of £85.3 million on Tuesday, setting a new record price for any work of art sold at an auction in Europe. London-based auction house Sotheby's said the total price includes fees known by buyer's premium. The painting, which had been given a guide price of £65 million, was sold after a tense 10-minute bidding war as auctioneer Helena Newman, Sotheby's head of Impressionist and Modern Art, eked out the final bids in £500,000 increments. Described by Newman as a technical tour de force full of boundary-pushing experimentation, as well as a heartfelt ode to absolute beauty, the painting titled De mit Fraîcheur, or Lady with a Fan, was still on an easel in Klimt's studio when he died in February 1918. The painting sold to a Hong Kong-based art advisory firm, bidding on behalf of a collector based there. Sotheby's said the painting was one of the small number of Klimt's portraits in private collections. It is now the most expensive Klimt artwork sold at auction everywhere in the world. It was last offered for sale nearly 30 years ago when it was acquired by the family of the present owner for $11.6 million.
Still not yours, sir. If you'd like to come back in.
And with that, we reach at the end of today's updates at noon. Our leading story for today, PM calls on past leaders to answer Allah enemies' allegation. Now, for our loyal viewers, starting tonight, our English news edition, Malaysia Tonight, will begin airing at 8:30 PM in TV1 and saluran Berita RTM. Be sure to join us again. I'm Syahidah Arifin. Thank you for watching. Malaysia Madani, dekat perpaduan, penuhi harapan.